people change. The guy or girl you married in 1998 may not be the same person in 2008. And that's what I think we're looking at with Tom Brady. The whole midlife crisis thing is real. Do you think this is father time, or is this father fame undermining Tom Brady?
I think it's a bit of both. Look, for us not to think that a 45-year-old athlete would not have a physical erosion, it's just not natural unless you got some help. Now, everything you laid out, I didn't really hear about it until afterwards. I've got to say this. I'm extremely disappointed in Tom Brady with this behavior because I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's been echoed many times. As the quarterback, especially a franchise quarterback who is iconic, you have to be all in. In other words, you got to be the first one in, last one out. Nobody can work harder than you in between all that time. And if you're not that guy, I feel bad for you. It's like being pregnant. You aren't or you are. There's no halfway. Now, the Wednesdays off, that's a concession I think that's probably made to a lot of older football players. I know in training camp, if you're in the league for 10 years, coaches say basically you get this day off. I'm going to cut your reps. I get that because Wednesdays can be a day where they just install the game plan. It's more about the mental reps. I get it. You want to save the wear and tear. But him cutting out on the team flight to go to a wedding, and by the way, fall weddings during football seasons, aren't they the damn worst, Jay? I hate that. But Tom Brady made the commitment to be a professional football player. You know what being a pro is? A true pro does something even when it's not convenient. You better fly with your team. There's no excuse. You could zoom in your best wishes to Robert Kraft. I know it's your good friend, but you know what? You made the choice to unretire so you could not enjoy these type of moments. That's the sacrifice. And I'm sorry. I'm just wondering if Todd Bowles should have said, wait, Tom, if you're not on that plane, you're not going to start. It reminds me of a classic story. 1992, the Cowboys are all on the plane. One Michael Jerome Irvin is not there, probably coming out, finishing his business at the White House, and everyone's like, tick, 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 5 minutes to go. All of a sudden, Jimmy goes, close the door. And Troy Aikman's panicking. This is a funny story. So literally, as the plane's going off the tarmac, Michael Irvin is racing in like O.J. Simpson from the Hertz rent-a-car, and Troy Aikman is begging Jimmy, he's here. And he goes, nah, get that plane in the air. So Michael Irvin had to catch his own direct flight to Detroit because they were playing the Lions. Get into the meeting, and Jimmy Johnson said, Michael, I'm very disappointed in you. Stand tight. You suspended. You're not starting. Now, that suspension lasted all of 3 plays because the offense looked so bad. Norv Turner was begging Jimmy, like, Jimmy, everyone's cursing at me. Okay? I'm getting all the – Jimmy, you've made your point. Do you want to win or not? But there was a point made because Michael Irvin, for all his wackiness back then, Jason, I didn't hear of him missing another team flight. And I think there's that old line, with great leadership and power comes responsibility. And I hate to say it, Tom Brady has become that guy who's abusing it. And that's disappointing to hear.
Steve, my point in why I discard father time as an excuse is because the physical toll of the game has been so reduced that if they were playing under these rules 30 years ago, Brett Favre might still be playing right now. Or George Blanda might have played till he was 55. And so I don't think the game has been so physically relaxed. I'm not as impressed with Brady playing until age 45. I don't see a physical erosion. I see a guy who doesn't understand 50% of his value is the tone he sets within the team. And he helped cultivate and create that culture that made New England special for 2 decades. And I think he has fooled himself into believing, nah, you don't need it to win. And, we won a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay with a looser culture. But what they're doing it's not sustainable. And it's great that they won that Super Bowl. But for 2 decades, New England was a Super Bowl contender year in and year out and appeared in 10 Super Bowls because of that culture. Brady has disavowed that culture and wants to be an entitled millionaire athlete like everybody
Well,
else.
Jason, could you imagine Brady going up to Bill Belichick and, hey, Bill, I'm going to catch an Uber to the game on Friday. I'm going to go to the wedding. Could you imagine what Belichick would mumble to him? I mean, seriously, but again, this is an age-old story that I see in boxing. When Muhammad Ali fought the Thriller in Manila, I mean, just a grueling 14-round fight against Joe Frazier in the third chapter, he should have retired. I guess it would have been maybe the perfect ending for him as a boxer. And then certainly after he beat Leon Spinks in their rematch in the Superdome several years later, after there was even more physical erosion, that would have been the perfect time to retire. And he kind of did for a while till Larry Holmes and all that money Don King brought to him in a suitcase, dragged him out. And then he fought one more time against Trevor Berbick, and it was a sad ending. I've said this about boxing. It doesn't give out gold watches. It hands out beatings. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen with Tom Brady, but you're absolutely correct. When you are the tone setter, and in essence, you're the culture, you have to adhere to it more than anybody. And I've heard a couple of players make this point. If Tom Brady, Mr. Tough Guy, is in my face as a big lineman, no matter how badly I'm playing, and I'm getting hit in the head, getting banged around, and this guy, Mr. Let me just catch you on there Sunday night or Sunday morning, is screaming in my face, there's a part of you in the back of your mind saying, excuse me, you get Wednesdays off, you took a private jet here, you went to a wedding, why don't you lay back and get rid of the ball a little sooner? Because you have the license to do that if you're putting in all the time and effort like anybody else. Like Troy Aikman was a very hard teammate, especially during the Barry Switzer years when he had to become the sheriff. But the reason why I think Troy had that license is, number one, he took a beating back in that era, but I don't think he ever missed a practice, and he certainly never went to a wedding on a Friday night and missed a team plane.
I think some people are going to hear this conversation. Oh, you're being too hard on Brady and blah blah.
No.
And yeah, I don't think we are. And I
Uh-uh.
think people don't recognize that people can change. People, anybody smart that's been married for longer than 5 years or 5 minutes, anybody you've watched people change. The guy or girl you married in 1998 may not be the same person in 2008. And that's what I think we're looking at with Tom Brady. The whole midlife crisis thing is real. I say this jokingly, but I think three of my best friends, all guys I went to college with, and I'm not remotely commenting on their marriage, but I'm talking about three of my best friends all have Corvettes right now. They literally, their extra car is a Corvette. And I'm just like, holy cow, this midlife crisis thing is real. I'm looking at friends. I mean, it's just real. And I think that's what's going on with Brady.